Alrighty. Yvette Alexander, YVETTEALEXANDER.
For a little background, could you tell me briefly about yourself and how long have you lived or been involved in the Hillcrest community? And you can include any involvement you may have had in the Hillcrest Community Civic Association.
Okay. Well, I'm Yvette Alexander, and I'm the Ward 7 council member. And actually, I was raised in Ward 7. Technically, I live in the Penn Branch community. As far as real estate is concerned, they consider that area, the broader area of Hillcrest. But Hillcrest, I mean, I was practically, that's where I spent my childhood, in Hillcrest and the Penn Branch area. And in terms of going to the Hillcrest Recreation Center, I was an avid tennis player growing up. So Hillcrest Recreation Center was a staple for me from like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday every summer. I played tennis with the National Junior Tennis League, and Hillcrest Recreation Center was a major part of my childhood growing up on the tennis courts at Hillcrest and the Recreation Center. And actually, a lot of my friends grew up in the Hillcrest area too, Hillcrest and Penn Branch. So I really had a lot of interaction in Hillcrest. It was nothing for us to walk up and down Branch Avenue all day long as a child. And I don't see our young people doing that now. They want a recreation center practically in their backyard. But Hillcrest was the recreation center that served that entire part of Ward 7. So I've just had a wonderful, wonderful time growing up in that community.
So as you may know, this oral history project is a continuation of the 20th anniversary celebration of the Hillcrest Community Civic Association. In thinking about Hillcrest, will you define it as a strong DC neighborhood? Tell me why, and also explain what is your definition or idea of a strong DC neighborhood.
Well, I definitely think it's a strong DC neighborhood. I think the definition in part one is really taking ownership in your community, and Hillcrest exemplifies that ownership. We have beautiful homes in Hillcrest, a lot of home ownership in Hillcrest, and even those who don't own, the neighborhood has really been sustained over the years. It hasn't changed, and I think that's a good thing because the property value is still high. The streets are clean. Everyone is neighborly. So when you come into that community, the tone has already been set. And I think that there have been some things over the year that are standard. It's a safe community, it's a friendly community, it's an active community, and it's a family-oriented community. So I think those things over the years have gotten stronger, and I think that's important.
So what is your opinion of the Hillcrest Community Civic Association and its role in creating a strong DC neighborhood? How do you think it has engaged the residents of the community to encourage active involvement and participation? And to what extent do you think it has sufficiently engaged the residents in other parts of the city?
Well, yeah, Hillcrest, in part, in Ward 7, has really engaged the community civically and politically. We have 3 representatives who are from the Hillcrest area, so that definitely plays a role in their political power and civic engagement. And Hillcrest in particular, because the 3 of us, I know the chair, Vincent Gray, the at-large member Kwame Brown, and myself, the Ward 7 council member, are all from the area. And traditionally, every Ward 7 council member has been from the Hillcrest area since Willie Hardy. Willie Hardy was the only one who was not actually from the area. H.R. Crawford, Kevin Chavis, and Vincent Gray, as well as myself, have all been from that immediate area. And the people of Hillcrest make that fact known. And they've also served as a model. It's interesting that, you know, for some time there was there was a division of the north side of the ward and the south side of the ward, and Hillcrest was the model. All the civic associations across the ward, felt that Hillcrest was getting all of the amenities, getting all the attention from all the elected officials, which may have been in fact true, but I think it was true because they really showed their political power. They had the council members in their community, and they were going to hold them accountable, and and their voices were heard. And I think it's a good thing that they kind of set the tone for the Ward 7 community. Now we have empowered so many communities, and it's a model that everyone needs to emulate. And Hillcrest also, not even among other civic associations in Ward 7, but they've taken it a step further to partner with another community, the Palisades community in Ward 3. And I think they're, bridging gaps, building bridges, and creating coalitions across the city. And I think that's what makes a community strong, to compare your similarities in other communities across the city, and even across the nation. I think that's how you build strong communities, and Hillcrest is constantly doing that.
So to what degree do you see HCCA and the Hillcrest neighborhood as extensions of each other? And in other words, how effective would one have been without the other in creating a strong DC neighborhood? How do you view them? Do you view them, Hillcrest and HCCA, as separate entities, or are they one and the same to you? When one does well, does it naturally bring along the next? Or does success occur individually? And why do you see it this way?
Right. No, definitely, if the Hillcrest community was not a strong community, the Civic Association would not be a strong association. The association is made up of the community. And whereas if the Civic Association just had a few people in the community trying to, run the entire community, that would not work. They had to engage all of the community, and I think Hillcrest is great in doing that because they constantly have a membership drive, and they constantly, if you attend a Hillcrest meeting, they're going to make sure that you get an invitation to join the association. And I've seen it grow, and I think Hillcrest welcomes not only their community members, but I've seen it grow to members who live all across the ward that want to come to the Civic Association. And I think that's great because they know it's a great model to follow. I've also seen a lot of council members who don't represent Ward 7, not even at-large members. Councilmember Tommy Wells from Ward 6 has been to the Civic Association. Jack Evans has mentioned he wants to come. So even council members who don't represent at-large or the ward, they want to come into Hillcrest because they've heard about the success of Hillcrest. So I think the community makes it definitely strong. I don't think you can separate one from the other. If you don't have a good community, you don't have a good civic association.
So how effective do you think the HCCA's various forms of communication and outreach been effective? Or do you see more room for improvement?
It's been very effective. On the listserv, you receive the notices of the meetings in the East of the River magazine. I send it out in my community notes, the different, and they remain consistent. On the first Saturday of the month that Hillcrest is going to hold their meeting. And where some civic associations and ANCs don't meet in the summer, 4th of July, Labor Day, no matter what, Hillcrest is going to meet. And they have other activities that have also kept the community, kept in touch with the community. When they have extensions, the gentlemen of Hillcrest, and they reach out to different young people and the community. When you have the different nonprofits, rec center, that they come in, and even during the Hillcrest Civic Association, the different groups that are in the rec center come in and introduce themselves to the community. They have their annual dinner at the rec center. that's a great way to engage people. They do so much, the blessing of the trees, the garden tour. So they do more than just host a meeting. They have events for the community to attend. So their consistency, and no matter what, all year round, they have their Civic Association meeting on that first Saturday, 10 a.m. And then they have other activities that make it fun and exciting, so you just don't feel, like I'm going to another community meeting. The Hillcrest Civic Association actually engages in all types of activities, and they engage the entire community. So if you may not be turned on to go to a Civic Association meeting, then maybe you like a garden tour. Or if you don't want to go to a Civic Association meeting, well, maybe you would like to go to a luncheon or a barbecue, or, plant trees in the community, or a cleanup effort, community cleanup. So they engage the community in activities throughout the year. And I think that's a great way to engage people.
So the Hillcrest neighborhood has been known for its civic-mindedness, neighborliness, caring, and respect for the beauty of the environment. Is this something you agree with? And if so, why? And are there any other adjectives you'll use to describe Hillcrest and the HCCA?
Wow, I think that sums it up. But yeah, definitely Hillcrest, as I mentioned before, they engage in so many other activities. And then they participate. They participate in the Palisades Parade. They participate, in Neighborhood Watch. They participate in their ANC meetings. They participate in the police advisory meetings. So everyone knows them. All the government agencies know Hillcrest, so that when you call and when you state you're from Hillcrest, they know that they have to, they have to show up, definitely. They have to produce some results. And I think that's great. I think that Hillcrest has been consistent in their civic responsibility. And I think they will be that way for a long way to come. I haven't seen the neighborhood change. The neighborhood has stayed consistent. And when there are any changes or concerns, Hillcrest community definitely lets you know. So I think that's important.
So based on the length of time that you've lived in the community and based on your observations and interactions, what do you see as the 3 core elements that make for a strong neighborhood in the District of Columbia?
Wow, 3 strong elements. Definitely up there in the top 3 are civic engagement. You have to really become involved and state your concerns and and what you're proud about in your community. So definitely civic engagement. And I would say being neighborly, getting to know your neighbors, that forms a community. You just going to work and going home every day and kind of minding your business in your home, that doesn't make for a community. So a community, when you actually get out there and get to know your neighbors, I think that is a way, definitely, that can sustain a successful community. And actually holding your elected officials accountable and getting to know your elected officials. I think those are the keys to a great community. So those are pretty much the top 3 in my book.
Is there anything else you can think of which highlights Hillcrest as a strong DC neighborhood, or anything that shows HCCA as helping to facilitate that strength?
And by me being born and raised in Washington, D.C., Southeast has always traditionally, across the city and across the nation, actually, sometimes been shed in a negative light. People say Southeast is a high crime area. Some of the tourist books actually say don't go to Southeast, and some of them still say that. I attended Woodrow Wilson, which was in Northwest in Ward 3, and I used to get, kind of harassed about Southeast. So really, Southeast is a hidden treasure, and I think Hillcrest is a great example of exposing Southeast DC, east of the river. People really have not been to Southeast. They've heard things. And until you see for yourself, I think you shouldn't make any gross misjudgments about Southeast. So I've defended Southeast for my entire life, and I've always known what a beautiful community and what a beautiful place Southeast is. So Hillcrest is one of those examples, and it's shocking to me and surprising when people come and they're shocked, to see our community. And we like to say that we had one of the best kept secrets in DC, but we welcome people to come to DC, and especially now since it's going to be the home of the mayor and the chairman of the council. Come on over to Hillcrest, come on over to Southeast and see the great things happening. It's a hidden treasure, and we want the world to know about it.